Steve Bannon is now loose and out in the wild, if you will. One of the questions that arises out of that situation is there going to be more stability at the White House now? Good luck with that. So let's begin to answer that in a couple of different ways. First, the Washington Post has this story. They explain no administration in history has been so divided among itself about the direction about where it should go. And Steve Bannon said that in an interview with him. So he's saying no administration has ever been this divided, adding that Trump's base is frustrated by a congressional agenda that has dovetailed more with traditional Republican priorities than the agenda Trump championed. Now, Steve Bannon is correct about both of those things. I've never seen a White House this divided. I mean, Obama talked about having a team of rivals. This is a team of rivals. No, Obama's was incredibly calm, cool, and collected. And as much as there were flare-ups from time to time with Bush and Clinton, nothing, Reagan, nothing like this, nothing. It's an absolute madhouse over there. And it's partly because they don't agree. And it's also partly because of ego, and in my opinion, they're all bad guys. And so what do bad guys do? They stab each other in the back. So all of that has added up to complete chaos. And plus, the most important part, which we're going to talk about more in a second, is no one's home. There's no boss. There's no competent leader that has allowed them to do this. But Bannon is right about the second part too, which is that in that divided leadership or divided House with no leadership, the establishment guys have largely won. So there's talk of building a wall, but not much has been done about it. The trade wars that were promised with China and other folks have not materialized at all. Instead, more the establishment, hey, let's keep everything calm and cool and make sure we just get tax cuts for the rich, and who cares about your other parts of your agenda, which might actually hurt our business interests. So that's out, that's gone. Just about every policy issue you look at, the populist wing of Trump is not winning. Now you can say, hey, they're winning on the whole white nationalist stuff. If you can call that a win, but obviously Steve Bannon was kicked out partly because of those reasons. So they're not winning on that anymore. They're a mess. And second of all, that misunderstands their mandate, whatever little mandate that they had, which was to be, and Bannon is right about this too, to do economic populism. Don't get me wrong. His policy ideas are horribly wrong. And if the country went in that direction, it would greatly hurt the country, not help the country. But in terms of politics, that is what his base elected him for. They don't like the establishment. They put Trump in office specifically because he was running against the establishment. If he was running against another populist, he almost certainly would not have won, but he was running against an incredibly establishment figure in Hillary Clinton. So this doesn't bode well for Trump on a couple of different grounds because of that. All right, so they explained further. In an interview in Washington on Saturday, Bannon warned Republican leaders to enthusiastically support Trump's priorities on taxes, trade, and funding a massive border wall, or risk the wrath of the president's base, including Breitbart, to which Bannon returned Friday as executive chairman. Look, taxes are easy. They all agree on giant trillions of dollars in tax cuts for the rich. They will do that whether it's with Trump or not. That is Republican 101. So that's the one area they're all aligned on, and that's why I've said from day one, if there's one thing you could bank on, and it's giant tax cuts for the rich and for multinational corporations. On trade, they don't agree. So Bannon's contingent is not likely to win, in which case they get angry and start attacking the Trump administration. Good news for the rest of us. And one of the things they want to win on is, even Paul Ryan has said, well, look, I mean, these tax cuts are so enormous and it's going to create giant deficits. I mean, if you thought deficits were bad under Democrats, first of all, that's because of George W. Bush that Obama got that deficit in the first place, and he actually decreased it by 50%. But if you thought that was bad, wait till you get a load of the deficits after this tax cut. So, and Paul Ryan knows that, and he's like, well, can we at least do an importation tax? And corporate America was like, no, you can't. The Koch brothers are like, no, we get a lot of stuff from Mexico. No, you will not be allowed to do that. And Paul Ryan said, okay, sorry, sir, absolutely, sir. Just tax cuts, nothing else. So they won't get any of that stuff, and hence there'll be more infighting in the White House. Now we go to Matt Schlapp, who's the chairman of the American Conservative Union. They're backing Bannon's crew here. He says, I think Steve is going to be more effective on the outside. On the outside, if you're well-funded and you are feared, you have a platform, you're going to be a power player. Steve has all of that in spades. Well, outside of Trump, I don't see why anybody would fear Steve Bannon. Yes, Steve Bannon could strip away votes from his base, and that's a legitimate concern for the president. If you're a Democratic congressperson, the idea of being afraid of Steve Bannon should be absolutely laughable. I mean, he is such a polarizing figure. He's nothing but an ally for you politically in that sense, and you should attack him with 100% ferocity. Now, not something the Democratic establishment is that familiar with, but man, is this a soft target. If you can't hit this target, then you better get out of the game. But there's one other interesting thing in that quote, which is he's well-funded. Now, Breitbart doesn't make any money. Breitbart has lost 90% of his advertisers since this administration began, and their viewer numbers, and I should say their reader numbers are in the tank. So how are they well funded? Because on the right, they don't run real businesses. It's just propaganda outlets. So the Mercers, who are the white nationalist Wall Street guys, it's a very fun combo of racist and Wall Street abuse, are funding Breitbart. They're like, well, we want propaganda for white nationalism. We want propaganda for giant tax cuts and our extreme right-wing position. And obviously you losers at Breitbart can't make any money. Come on, when's the last time a conservative publication ever made money? New York Post loses money. Weekly Standard has a comically low circulation rate. I mean, all these publications are absolute disasters. They're not winning with them. They're a mess. So guys like Mercer have to come in and prop them up. So it's interesting that there is still that money out there for Breitbart to go not only cause trouble for Democrats, but also not establishment Republicans, and with that we get, and I could respect that, but also for their own president. Hey, if you're not gonna play, we're gonna take our ball and go home, and damn the torpedoes. It's probably not a good strategy for them overall, but music to my ears. Okay, now, well, how significant is this conflict going to be? Well, here's another excerpt from the Post. On Friday, a flurry of bravado-filled interviews with Bannon appeared on various websites, including one in which he said he felt, quote, as if I've got my hands back on my weapons, and was prepared to, quote, crush the opposition. Now, talk of crushing the opposition is fairly standard, especially online. Having his weapons back in Breitbart, okay, it's right-wing talk, not a big deal. For the rest of us, I don't think. But again, if you're the Trump White House and you just kick this guy out and he's talking about grabbing his weapons, and he also called Breitbart a killing machine. Questionable right-wing terminology there, but that is problematic, of course. Now we go to a Republican strategist who says, what it does not do is remove the person who's creating the most drama in the White House, and that's Donald Trump. He's going to continue to do what he's going to do. That means, yeah, you might have gotten rid of Bannon, and you might have gotten rid of Priebus and Spicer and Scaramucci and all these other, but they're not the ones that are causing the problem. They're a symptom of the problem. The problem is Donald Trump. Guy's a total clown. So, end of the Washington Post story here. It says, on most of these issues, there is no evident strategy among Republicans on either side of Pennsylvania Avenue for bridging divisions and bringing Trump and congressional Republicans together. Yes, there is no evident strategy because Donald Trump is in charge. So you can have Steve Bannon go and it might be immediately helpful because you restore some degree of order in the White House. Long term, it might be damaging because he's going to fire all of his cannons on you apparently at some point. But at the end of the day, it isn't going to help anything because the source of the instability was not Bannon. The source of some of the hatred and the white nationalism, et cetera, might have been Bannon, but the source of the instability is the president himself. So at the end of the day, you've solved nothing and probably created more headaches for yourself now that you're in some ways going to war with your base. That should be fun. Support independent media. Come join us at the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.